This week, this sorry excuse for a podcast is sponsored by Lilith's Mattresses. Lilith's Mattresses have a unique combination of high-performance straw and hypoallergenic newt scale filling, which delivers contouring pressure relief, core support, and a guaranteed 87% lice-free sleep. Oh, that just sounds awful. In my experience, people need a few lice to remind them that they're alive. Nothing like a good rash to focus the mind. Well, I suppose if you want to spend good money on a glorified sack of straws, I suppose you should get one.
Hello, hello, hello. Here on Morris's official tabletop RPG talk. It's me, Peter Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Roleplayers, and with me today is my mucus-filled and stalwart companion.
Yeah, it's me, Morris, aka Russ. I'm letting Peter do more of the talking this week because I still have Ebola, as you may recall from last week. Apologise for my voice. Hopefully Dal can edit around the coughing and spluttering. I was almost tempted to cancel it this week, but we have an important top 10 podcast to count down, and I know people are eagerly awaiting to hear the results.
Super eager.
So I had to not let them down.
Absolutely.
I can't even form sentences correctly now.
Well, could you ever, Russ? Could you ever? That's the question we have to ask. Oh, Russ, have you seen on iTunes? We've had reviews.
No, what's iTunes?
Insert sound of face being slapped here. Yes, Russ. Very funny. So iTunes, as you know, is quite important for the delivery of this podcast to many, many people, including our wonderful listeners. And speaking of wonderful listeners, they include two who've written fantastic reviews for us.
Wow.
On the 14th and 13th of December.
Wow.
Great stuff. I've got Ian D, who lives in the UK. Thanks very much, Ian. Ian
what does
says,
he say? Go on.
Yeah, Ian says, if you're into RPG of all types, not just D&D, these plucky Brits are delivering entertaining news. Their favourite game in all the world, sketches, and some great interviews. Give these guys a listen. They're also active on their Facebook page.
Hey, we are plucky Brits.
Yeah, check
I've
us
never
out.
been called a plucky Brit before. I'm going to go and get in my Spitfire now.
You're okay to more of a hat cough and Spitfire, but
yeah.
we hear what you're saying.
So we got another one.
And we also had...
yeah,
and then we had the D Project as well. From the USA.
Oh, I read that as the Ed Project. No, the D Project. Oh, yeah, okay.
It might also be the Ed Project. We don't know, but I'm going to say the D Project.
Yeah, so he says, as a podcaster myself, I know how much work goes into each of these shows. As a fellow gamer, I enjoy the value Morris and the gang. You're the gang.
I am the gang. Yay! I made the gang stage. Yay!
Bring with it. One day you'll earn a name of your own.
Never.
Bring with their funny bits and sketches, reviews, and general banter about games and gaming. If you haven't given them a listen yet, please do so, and you will be thoroughly entertained.
Well, thank you very much, Paul and Ian. We really appreciate the positive feedback. That's very, very kind of you.
If those are your real names.
Thank you to the people masquerading as Paul and Ian on the internet. Whether or not they're your real names, it could be a cunning double or maybe even a triple bluff. We liked it anyway.
So I started something exciting last week.
Oh, was it a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle?
Yes, but we're not talking about that right now.
It is quite large. It's taking a large part of the room.
Well, given the fact that each of the pieces is a foot square, is...
I know. I didn't think you had enough space.
It's lucky I live in this castle, really, isn't it?
It is. Because, of course, like, as all our American listeners know, all British people do live in castles. It makes a chilly but...
Yeah, so I suspect that would be a cold place to live.
It would be a chilly place, yes.
And I imagine most castles probably don't have good Wi-Fi either, trying to get through those stone walls.
I know, living in such barbarism. But no, Russ, what exciting thing did you start?
Well, what begins with D,
yes,
ends with D, and has Iscor in the middle.
It's not Dungeons and Dragons. Is it Discord?
It is Discord.
Ah, yeah. It's like MSN and Skype had a beautiful, beautiful baby that works really well. So yeah, free voice and text chat. And that's available for listeners of the podcast.
Well, it's available to anybody.
Yes.
But
we're going to have exciting...
If you're a Patreon, you get a special, you get added to a special user group, which as yet doesn't do anything, but we can add special privileges to Patreon supporters. But generally speaking, it's basically a big chat room where you can pop on, discuss the podcast, discuss the latest episodes.
That's how great we are.
And we plan to use it to, like, assuming my voice ever gets better and I recover from Ebola, run some games perhaps and hold some other little events sort of live on the Discord from time to time.
Definitely. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. But that does require me to survive the week, which seems unlikely right now.
So there's a good 50-50 chance that this will be occurring in your future.
My voice really does sound different, doesn't it? It's like...
I don't mean to come across as cruel, but if you called me on the phone and started talking like that, I'd hang up on the ground. I'd assume you were some sort of phone pervert. No offence.
Yeah.
Hello, it's me, Russ.
I am not very well. Those of you who are listening for the first time, this isn't actually what my voice normally sounds like.
Yes, in fact, the person who does the Malak the Maleficent introduction is a different person altogether from Russ.
Yes, it's my brother.
Bum, bum, bum.
Anyway.
So, Russ, in my stepping up to being you in this parallel universe, possibly where I have Anon's goatee, can you tell me what's caught your eye this week?
I was just thumbing through my collection of Starfinder flip mats.
Ooh. Oh, yes, these things here. They're very... Oh, hospitals, urban sprawl, get in.
Tina.
Nice. Oh, there we go. Bit of a...
Starship there.
An
asteroid.
Starship. Yeah.
Another starship.
You got some Pathfinder flip mats as well.
Yeah, so Pato have been producing Pathfinder ones for, donkey's years.
Yeah,
and they're great because they have, poster sized, there's a mat on each side, each with a different thing on the other side. And over the last year or so, they've been producing Starfinder ones.
Yeah.
And one thing I've always noticed is it's really, really hard to find sci-fi sort of prepared maps.
Oh, wow, yeah,
Especially gridded ones, which you can use for, tabletop gaming.
Yeah, this particular one, it's poster size. We've got a couple of, looks like the bases of a tower with some steps leading into the middle.
Which one is that? Tech Dungeon. That's a Pathfinder one, actually.
Okay. Yeah, and it's got like a containment unit thing filled with swirling purple, I'm going to say void energy, because every time I see void energy in a computer game, that's that colour purple.
The beauty of these things is it can be whatever you want, because it's just a map, and you just use it as and when you need to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah. So, I use these, I don't use them for Starfinder specifically, I just use them for sort of general sci-fi role-playing. Like, I've used them in Just Dread, I've used them in What Sword Is New and stuff like that, and it's really useful for urban sprawl. That map works really well in Judge Dredd, for example.
Of course, yeah.
And the cantina and things like that, and nightclubs and things like that all kind of work well in that setting.
I bet you could use it really well in war games as well.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. Obviously, more of the skirmish style games like, the 40k Kill Team, we've got Malifaux. You could maybe even use some of the Pathfinder ones for their Necromunda equivalent.
Well, a lot of the Pathfinder ones, because it's sort of, a lot of them are just outdoor set, like forests and stuff like that. They also work well for sci-fi games as well. Because sci-fi also has outdoors in it, amazingly.
What?
It's shocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I was looking on Reddit the other day, and there were some people who were very upset because they were talking about the Ravnica setting. And the whole point of the Ravnica setting, as per the book, is it's a citywide planet, which I've always found a little bit infeasible, but I'm like, well, it's not my game. I'm sure they can make it work with enough magic.
Coruscant?
Exactly.
The classic citywide planet.
That's your proper sci-fi setting. But apparently in the books and novellas that have been released, it's actually not a citywide setting. It's a planet-wide setting. The city is very large, but there is definitely an outdoors that you can go to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You live and learn.
I've just learned something.
Yes. Oh, the thing that caught my eye, speaking as we were briefly of wargaming, is Mech Frame Zero. We'll put the link in the show notes, but essentially it's this fantastic idea where you build a giant mecha out of Lego, then you get together with your friends, and it's a rule set to allow you to shoot at each other and blow bits off of a mecha. Quite frankly, that does look like that could consume 2 to 3 hours of hilarious Lego building.
That does sound like fun. Are there rules for building the mecha as well?
I think so. I haven't got into it in full depth, but I'm hoping with my friend who has the room full of Lego.
That's like my brother. Yeah.
He didn't have like, a floor full of Lego. He has a room full of Lego. And he seems very excited about this prospect as well. So,
I was actually shocked when my brother bought a new house recently, about a year ago, and it turns out it wasn't made of Lego. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Shall we do some news?
Oh, yes, please.
There's some stats that have come out about the top games played on Fantasy Grounds all throughout 2018.
Oh, exciting.
I bet you can't guess what the top game on Fantasy Grounds in 2018 was.
Oh, can we go at the top 5?
You'll probably get them right. But go on, let's see what you go for there.
Is it 5th ed? Pathfinder
By 5th ed, you mean D&D 5th edition?
Oh, yes, of course, the 5th edition of the Dungeons & Dragons series. Then Pathfinder, the 1st edition of that. Mm-hmm. Then I'm going to say the 3.0 and 3.5 editions of Dungeons & Dragons, and then other Dungeons & Dragons. How am I doing?
You started off well.
Oh, okay.
And then you slipped a little. You'll be pleased, though, I think. Here it is. So, number 1 was, as you said, D&D 5th edition. Mm-hmm. Number 2, Pathfinder. Mm-hmm. D&D 5th edition, 67% of games.
Oh, 67.
Yeah. The pie chart looks like a giant Pac-Man eating all the other games. Because D&D's just got this big section.
I'm sure that's not a metaphor in any way.
So Pathfinder has 12%.
Impressive.
Savage Worlds is next.
What? Amazing.
5%.
5%. Get in.
Nice, isn't it? And these are followed by Starfinder.
Yeah, I forgot to mention Starfinder, despite having the flip mats literally in front of me.
D&D 3.5.
Nice.
Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, get in.
D&D 4E.
Oh, yes, forgot about that.
Star Wars.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're using the Genesis.
And then Pathfinder 2nd edition.
Ooh.
Which is going to be the playtest rules as opposed to...
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's it's not a massive swing, but yeah, it's like there are other role-playing games out there, and hearing something that isn't based off Wizards of the Coast or the Open Game License is like fairly newsworthy, I feel. Probably why we mentioned it.
Yeah.
Apparently, Paizo has officially announced the end of the Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest.
Woohoo!
I know, it has been expected, but it seems like they're still on schedule. The bad news for those who didn't finish the playtest adventure is that the surveys are now closed.
That's me. We're still on number 4 of 7, so we're literally only halfway through.
Scheduling the curse of role-playing game groups everywhere. There is, however, good news in the form that downloads are still available on the Pathfinder Playtest website. The Pathfinder Society Organised Playtest is still ongoing, with surveys still open for the 4 released adventures, and there are several general surveys for feedback on organised play focus rules. Organised play being like Adventurers League and so forth, where it's like you could just turn up.
Well, the Pathfinder Society.
Exactly.
Which predates the Adventurers League by quite some time.
Yes, but apparently the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, or Dungeons & Dragons 5e as I call it because we're good mates now, is very, very popular and apparently quite large. But yeah, no...
Yes, but we're talking about Pathfinder.
The Pathfinder Society, which is organised play. I was talking more about the organised play, not to be confused with actual play, which is where people do podcasts. Spoilers for later in the podcast. So, surveys still open for several released adventures. Jason Borman said in the announcement, for the past few months, we've been hard at work making refinements to the game, and that work is far from over here in the new year. The rest of the design team and I are going to be a little quiet over the next couple of months as we finalise parts of the game and get it ready to go to the printer. Once that hard work is done, you can expect to start showing off the final version of the game, and they can't wait to show you how it turned out.
I'm quite interested to see what they come up with for that.
Yes, yeah.
And it's going to be August, Gen Con, before we find out the final iteration of the rules. See how much of a change it's going to be.
Well, if it's sufficiently exciting, I might well try switching over.
Yeah, well, I'm quite enjoying the playtest rules. I mean, there are things about it I like and things I don't like so much. I'm not so keen on the general sort of keywordiness of the system, but I very much like the new action economy. Yeah, I think we've talked before about things like raising shields and all that sort of stuff, which really, really works really well, I think. And the way spells have different numbers of actions to cast depending on how complex they are and stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
So I'm really enjoying that aspect of it.
Yep.
I'm finding the bestiary hard to use.
Oh, okay.
Mainly because I haven't got it in hard copy format. I've only got it as a PDF on my iPad, and flicking through to find monsters takes ages on my iPad. It's like, all right, stop the game. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes trying to find this monster.
Is this a matter of your preparation?
Yes.
Your iPad?
Well, for a while I did start printing them out, the ones that I was going to need for the session. But
that's a lot of work.
A lot of printing.
Yeah.
And I was running out of cartridges, and I can't keep printing all those out. So it looks like Silver Griffin Games have decided to stop selling Savage Worlds products. And not only that, all the products they've got for sale, they've withdrawn from sale.
Wow. So Ben Overmyer has cited a change in the license from Pinnacle Entertainment Group that would require too many changes to their product back catalogue to be tenable.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
I don't know what the change actually is, but I'll try and look into that by next week.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
So they've removed all digital versions of Drive-Thru-RPG, and print copies are being sold at conventions with no new print runs being done.
Right, affected systems, it doesn't list here, but the company will refocus efforts on their own game systems, including Ether, Ingenium, and the forthcoming Mysteries of Broken World, which is due out later this year.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This looks interesting. So a chap called Artemis Entreri.
Oh, yes, sir.
Not the character from the Drizzt books, presumably, but a real person going under that name.
You don't know.
Over on Tumblr, he's posted a collection of ration packs organised by race. So you got things like rations for humans, dwarves, elves, halflings and things. Starts with bread, cheese, sausage and dried fruit, but then moves on to rations tailored towards all the different sort of Forgotten Realms races. And also sit-down meals for lizard folk, drow, mind flayers and ogres, including a photo diary of the preparation and tasting of the different dishes.
Interesting. I imagine the mind flayers, it would be a lot of brains on the
Yes, I'm not entirely sure what a nice meal consists of for a mind flayer. Do
Definitely.
they only eat brains, or is it like brains as a delicacy for them?
Maybe they're just like chocoholics, but brainaholics.
Do they like chocolate brains for Christmas then?
I think they just like the brains. Keep your nasty chocolate to yourself. But that would be a hell of a thing to find in your stocking from Santa, wouldn't it?
What, a brain?
A chocolate-covered brain. Just to go that extra bit creepy.
Well, I wouldn't object to a brain-shaped chocolate.
Yeah, I could see that being good.
As long as it was actually chocolate and not brain.
No brains were harmed in the making of this podcast.
That would be unfortunate.
Or indeed used.
So next month in February,
yes?
You know Wizards of the Coast Unearthed Arcana series where they release playtest rules?
Yes, I am familiar.
So there isn't one in January.
Really? I had no idea.
And that's because they're preparing a major one for February, which is the Artificer class.
Ooh.
So straight from the pages of Eberron.
Yes.
The Artificer obviously is a spellcaster that treats magic like technology and science rather than as an art form.
I'll be honest, I find the amount of rules for D&D to be quite large, so I don't generally look at the Unearthed Arcana, but I will say that the Artificer is a name, like the Mystic, of a class that I don't know, but I'm really familiar with because people are very, very excited about the prospects.
Well, the thing with the classes is they're kind of the big ticket items, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're big plug-in items as opposed to sort of like a little subsystem for encumbrance or something for tracking rations or something like that. It's a big upfront in-your-face edition. So it attracts a lot more attention than a lot of the...
It will affect your game quite substantially, the class you choose to play. It is true.
Egg Embry has posted on site a few RPG jobs available at the moment.
Oh, yes. And what does Mr. Embry have to say?
He's listed 3 of them.
Oh, exciting.
The first one is from Paizo, a customer service job, paying $13 per hour.
Okay.
You've got to be in Redmond, Washington, USA. Full-time job.
Okay.
Japanime Games.
Yep.
Another full-time job. Marketing and communications manager.
Ooh.
Pay to be determined by experience. The deadline for that one is January the 15th. That's tomorrow. Oh, that'll be yesterday by the time anyone listens to this podcast. Sorry, you missed this one, guys.
Yeah.
Although the employee is not required to be local and can work remote anywhere in the US or Canada.
I see. Exciting times.
Atlas Games, a full-time marketing coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
$16 to $20 per hour from Duluth, Minnesota.
Mm.
Oh, it's actually 4, not 3. And the last one...
Oh, I see what you did there, I guess.
And the last one, White Wolf is looking for a new full-time brand manager.
Really? What happened to the old one?
God.
What could possibly have happened to them?
I think people can listen to some of our previous podcasts to find out what happened to the old one. So this one's located in Stockholm in Sweden.
Oh, marvellous, marvellous. Mm.
Yeah. The job posting from the corporation that owns Vampire the Masquerade uses the term stakeholder without any trace of irony.
Indeed, yes.
Excellent.
Marvellous news, marvellous.
Yes. Hey, so Peter, have you tried out that Black Mirror thing, Bandersnatch?
I have. I did it on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, around about then too.
Yeah. It was glorious. We basically had a bunch of drunken idiots, aka my friends, and we were all in the room whilst watching Bandersnatch, and we made choices by steering by committee and acclaim, which meant that whichever option got the loudest drunken cheering, we then followed.
Well, it was the opposite. I played it on my own with Sharon sat next to me, refusing to participate.
Was she judging you fiercely?
I think she might have been. So how did you find it?
Well, I found it immense fun. Really interesting.
It's dark.
Super dark.
But then it's Black Mirror, of course it is.
But loved it. Loved it. Really interesting.
Did you get all the endings?
No. We were basically still at a party, and this was just like about half of us have gone off to do this. But it was fun. We got several endings. And yeah, it was definitely a series of experiences. I really like the choose your own adventure style that they...
Yeah. Do you know what's interesting is Choose Your Own Adventure are suing Netflix over it.
You what?
They're suing Netflix. Because in all the advertising, they use Choose Your Own Adventure.
Which is going to be a trademark phrase?
Yeah.
Phrase.
And apparently they were originally trying to secure a Choose Your Own Adventure license.
Oh.
And for some reason that didn't go through. But they carried on just using Choose Your Own Adventure in all the marketing.
Awkward.
So now Choose Your Own Adventure is suing them, saying, no, this has nothing to do with us.
Right. So what I'm taking away from this is if you want to play Bandersnatch, get in quick before Netflix gets sued and has to take it down.
Well, I won't have to take it down because it doesn't say so on the thing itself.
Okay.
It was just in the marketing beforehand.
Oh, fair enough. It's damages for... Well, I suppose Choose Your Own Adventure has no choice but to sue, because if they don't, they will lose their brand.
It doesn't quite work like that, but...
Well, I thought that's how it worked for Frisbees and some other stuff that I can't remember.
Yeah, but that's a cumulative effect over like 50 years.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Anyway, no, so fair enough.
Yeah, if you happen to forget to sue one person, you don't immediately lose your brand. It doesn't work like that.
I think suing a large TV corporation that's done a lot of advertising is probably the sort of thing that you really should challenge.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, Russ.
Yes.
Is it time for our favourite game in all the world ever?
What, musical chairs?
Yeah. I'll start the music going and then we can play that. But in the meantime, for the listeners on the podcast, what we should do is we should probably play our favourite game in all the world ever, which is the game where you read out the Kickstarter title and then I guess the content of the Kickstarter from just the title alone. I
believe you scored -1 point last week.
That's only because you didn't count the bit where you read out the wrong Kickstarters. Kickstarters that already expired are apparently
excuses.
Under the rules of the spreadsheet not eligible.
Okay then, are you ready?
Yes, I was born ready. Woo!
Okay. Make 100 Era Liars, as in Lyres, Definitive Edition.
I think this one would be quite easy for me because this is actually a Kickstarter by Ed Jowett at Shades of Vengeance Press.
It is.
Yes. It's using the error system and it's essentially a cross between Dungeons & Dragons and Baron Munchausen, which is where you're a group of adventurers in the pub and you are attempting to come up with plausible things or implausible things that you did whilst you were on an adventure, which were not actually true.
He actually told us about it on this very podcast a few weeks ago. So,
and the difference is, I was actually listening that time.
I thought you needed an easy one. So yes, 10 out of 10. You got that one correct.
Yeah, there you go. Ed, just slip me a check in the post, mate. Nice one.
Okay, we'll move swiftly on to one that hasn't been featured on this podcast.
Yeah, we should have Jarrett back, actually. He was quite fun to speak with. Yeah. What else we got?
Okay. They came from beneath the sea.
Oh, fantastic. That sounds like some sub-oceanic horror going on here. Maybe it's something riffing off Call of Cthulhu, but I'm hoping for They Came From Beneath the Sea. I want tales of sort of aquatic horrors, like the real Marianas Trench monstrosities that are coming from beneath the sea to rise up and attack. So we've got like a nice setting, maybe a source book for Call of Cthulhu, or maybe its own game. But either way, it sounds like a fantastic evening of thrills involving thalassophobia.
Yeah. 7 out of 10. Not bad. So basically, it's the B movies of the 1950s science fiction. It's powered by Onyx Path's Story Path system, which obviously is the thing they've used for all of their Chronicles of Darkness.
Yeah.
It's World of Darkness is the White Wolf.
Yes.
Onyx Path is Chronicle. Is that right?
Hello, your editor Daryl here. Paradox Interactive, through their ownership of White Wolf, owns the rights to all of the World of Darkness properties, both the original World of Darkness and the new World of Darkness, the one started with Vampire the Requiem. The new World of Darkness was rebranded by Onyx Path when they licensed the game to Chronicles of Darkness, as they were printing new material for both lines at the same time and wanted to avoid customer confusion. As you can see, I don't think there's much they really could have done to prevent confusion in this case.
Anyway,
yes.
It's the 10-sided dice pool system.
Okay, D10 dice pool.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Which is in a lot of sort of vampire and werewolf games.
Yeah. Similar to Error, really. It's a solid system.
It's they say They Came From Beneath the Sea, a new tabletop role-playing game encompassing the wonder, horror, thrills, and hilarity of 1950s science fiction.
Ooh, get in.
That does sound fun.
That does sound fun. Like, that sounds like an amazing set of one-offs waiting to happen. Right. Come on. We're all now. Hot streak. Let's do it.
Next one.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Oh no.
Ah, yes. And this is where the Discord server has come to my rescue, because S-Stacks, I totally owe you a virtual beer, because you had this, and it's about dice which have, on the maximum side, like if it's a D6, it says heck yeah on the upside, and on the downside, on the 1, it says, oh no, I got a 1.
Almost. I'll give you 8 out of 10. It's only D20s.
Is it only D20s?
Only D20s.
It's not a set of dice then?
No.
Opportunity
only
missed.
D20s, but yes. Heck yeah and oh no.
Woohoo!
Let's have a look. What's next?
This game does become slightly easier the more time you spend hanging around with people who talk about a lot of RPGs.
Yeah, this one looks very easy. I suspect you'll get it. Treacherous Traps.
I'm hoping that it will be a companion, a bit like the Grimtooth's Book of Traps, but this is probably some sort of update to include 5th edition, and will have all sorts of hilarious death traps.
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yay!
It is for D&D 5th edition. It contains 250 pre-built traps, ranging in level and severity.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I don't know, I think the best traps in D&D and stuff are the ones that you see and that you have to deal with. Because, like, if you lose, like, I don't know, D10 hit points because a crossbow bolts hit you, it's like, oh, yeah, great, whatever. Annoying, but it's not a thing. Whereas if you're like, well, ahead you see, in the shadow of a pillar of light shining down, a golden idol on a pedestal. You get your bag of sand, you weigh it up, and you're like going, bit more sand, bit less sand, pull a bit out. And you swap it around and you just keep the count.
They should put that in a film, yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
They'll probably, and then be chased afterwards by some sort of like large, slow moving but exciting death trap, so you've got lots of opportunity to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah. I reckon they should definitely put that in a film.
Yeah. And then, I don't know, keep the pace up by having to, if you manage to escape this, being threatened and then doing a runner, being chased to like whatever your local conveyancing is. I don't know if it would work in D&D, but maybe some sort of Savage Worlds game. You know, a bit of pulp action.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Should definitely make that into a film. Anyway.
Last one.
Yeah.
Map Maker Adventures.
Oh. Well, I was thinking I knew what it was from the first two words, and the last word has thrown me completely. So it's adventures from a company of someone called Mapmaker, or it might be something that I'd be very interested in, which would be, if I saw Mapmaker Adventures, I would really be picking out and hoping that it would be a way to create maps, probably whack a hexagon grid over them, and then go into a lot of detail about how to generate what's in here, or like advice, and like be full of tables and interesting bits and pieces and all sorts of things, and maybe even some like extra terrain and exploration options and ways to include those in games. So I'm probably going to say it could be anything, but like I feel a fantasy system would be a strong choice.
Yeah.
Is that if I picked that up, would I be disappointed?
Yeah.
What would I in fact
It would
be
not
getting?
be. I know, if you'd be disappointed, you might be even more thrilled when you find out what it actually is, but it's not that.
Delight me, Russ. Delight me.
Okay.
Tell me what
So
this
it's
is.
an old school pencil and paper dungeon crawl role-playing game.
Okay.
You belong to the Imperial Expeditionary Force as a cartographer.
Okay, yeah.
And you are assigned to a border town southwest of the Empire, and so forth. Your team was assigned to a border town southwest of the Empire to investigate a series of frequent strange events. The appearance of evil creatures, missing town folk, livestock deaths, the wilting of farmland. Even the church has been sealed by the town guard since the priest carried out a terrible massacre. The town went crazy. You'll follow the advanced troops to investigate and produce detailed maps and information about the town and its surrounding locations, especially the dungeons. Definitely got an old school feel about it, I think, from reading that.
So the gameplay is that you draw maps, or you're playing a role-playing game, and your character is supposed to be drawing maps?
I assume your character is drawing maps and you're playing through the dungeon. It's just giving you your reason for going into the dungeon, basically.
Oh, okay.
Also interesting, no game master is needed. You can play solitary or with up to 4 players cooperatively against the game system itself.
Ah, there we go. Now that sounds exciting. Because obviously that means that you have very little prep to do. It's one of those that you can pull out and play. Now, you see, what was confusing me was this sounds like a plot hook for pretty much another RPG. But no, being able to do it against the game system itself turns it into more of a interesting, cooperative, serial prep game. And that I can get behind. Moving on.
That is it for our favourite game in all the world.
Oh.
Well, you did quite well this week.
Yeah, well, it makes up for destroying them all with a black hole that one time.
That is true. So this sketch, like last week's, is from Richard Kirk. Thank you, Richard, for sending in your sketches. We are absolutely excited about performing them. I'm not sure I'm going to get through it, but I'm going to do my very, very best.
Yes. Try and make it to the end before collapsing.
Yes.
That's always my top tip.
If only the sketch had been Ebola victim, then...
Well, and there you go, listeners. If you would like us, as part of our ongoing thing, to write in a sketch for us and hear us perform it in our own inimitable comedy stylings, then remember that there are only 2 of us. We do like the call centre format, but we're prepared to entertain others. Yeah, write into Morris Podcast, that's MORRUS, podcast@gmail.com with a short sketch, and we'll definitely give it a go.
Not well.
No, God, no. No, terribly.
We'll do it very, very poorly, but we will do it.
Whee!
Go on, then.
Please try and keep it clean. Top tip.
On with the sketch.
Onwards.
Thank you for calling the Adventurers Support Line. This call may be recorded for quality assurance purposes. How may I help you today?
Oh, hello. Who is this?
It's the Adventurers Support Line. We offer telephone support to adventurers in need of some advice. Are you not an adventurer?
No, I'm just the barman in the Horse and Hydra in Epsmere. It's just, this man came into my tavern wearing full plate armour.
Ah, right. So what seems to be the issue?
He ordered a round of drinks,
Pretty standard.
ordered a bit of food,
Yeah.
and then the moment I turned my back, he drew his sword, screamed a blood oath, and attacked one of my regulars who did nothing more than look at him a bit suspicious-like.
I see.
Within moments, his friends had slaughtered half of my patrons, smashed up one of my tables, and one of them seems to have emptied my till in the confusion.
That can happen.
And then, before the city watch could show up, they were gone. The only clue as to who they were was this small communication scroll I'm using to talk to you.
Well, in that case, you can probably count yourself quite lucky.
Lucky?
You've just run into a company of adventurers.
But aren't they supposed to be like heroes?
In theory, they are.
In theory?
Well, the trouble is, even the strictest lawful good adventurers do get into fights in taverns. You almost expect it. One funny look, and things can escalate to deadly violence immediately.
Right.
Hey, but look on the bright side.
Bright side?
They didn't burn down your tavern.
They did a bit.
At least you have your health.
So, this scroll...
Yeah, they're bound to be back for it soon, I'm afraid. Probably best just to move. Thank you for calling the Adventurers Support Line. Please be sure to fill out the survey after the call. Shall we get on to our main topic of the week? Our topic of the week is the top 10 podcasts of 2018. Eagerly awaited. I know there are lots and lots of podcasters out there wondering where they'll feature in this chart.
Chewing their nails.
Don't do that. That's unhealthy.
Unsanitary, some might argue.
And ugly.
Well, yeah.
Chewed nails do not look good. I should know. I've got plenty of them.
We digress.
But guess how many votes we got in total.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Alexa apparently doesn't know how many votes we got. Let's start again.
Yes.
So guess how many votes we got in total.
Ooh. Not more than 40,000.
You are correct. It is not more than 40,000.
Yes. Was it less than 20,000?
Yes. So it was
Yes.
total votes 9,099 votes.
Oh, okay.
That's a lot of votes.
So my final guess was only out by about 900, which is a pretty good game. Less than 10% wrong. Nice. If only I could aspire to that heady level of accuracy.
To be fair, your first guess was 40,000, so...
Technically, my guess was was not more than 40,000, which was 100% correct.
Anyway, so 9,099 votes in total.
Thank you for all the wonderful listeners and website viewers who obviously aren't listening to this, but we appreciate your efforts. Good stuff.
Yeah. So what I have done is I've divided the podcast into two categories.
What? Two categories post-voting?
Because I figure there are two very different types of podcasts out there when it comes to RPGs.
Oh, yes.
And they're not, they're not really, they're apples and oranges, really. And someone looking for one type isn't going to find a list about the other type that useful and vice versa. So I divided it into actual play podcasts and talk podcasts.
An excellent decision. They are very different things.
Yeah. So actual play podcasts are where people are actually playing a tabletop RPG and recording the sounds that they utter while doing so.
Interesting.
Translating them into electronic format and then distributing them via the World Wide Web.
Like a podcast?
Like a podcast, almost, yes. Talk podcasts are things like our podcast, where we're not playing a game, we're talking about games.
Yes.
So it's advice or news or reviews or all this sort of stuff.
Yes. Certainly, if you wish to leave us a 5-star review saying that you find the show to be interesting, but the plot is very confusing, we will definitely appreciate the show. iTunes might be slightly confused, but that's really more their issue, don't you agree?
So which would you
Not
like
just
to do
'cause
first?
Let's do the actual play. Who came in at number 10? Oh, and this time, after some careful editing, we have made sure that we've actually got the numbers from 10 to 1 in consecutive order with no duplication.
Because we're not very good at counting.
Some of us are not very good at counting.
So, one thing I would like to mention is just like looking at the list of nominated podcasts. There were 99 podcasts nominated.
Yes.
If your favourite podcast wasn't nominated, it's because you didn't nominate it. Don't shout at us.
It wasn't me. We didn't put any input into it.
We didn't nominate any of them. It was listeners who nominated it.
We didn't even nominate ourselves. I really should have.
No, but someone did nominate us, which was very kind of them.
Oh, thank you.
Well, anyway, I did notice that from the list, the vast majority of the nominated podcasts were actual play podcasts.
Yes.
I'd say a good 3/4 of them were actual play podcasts.
Nice.
Which is interesting. It's such a heavy skew.
Yeah,
Actual play.
I suppose I just imagined it'd be like 50-50 or something. But it does make a lot of sense. Finding stuff to talk about every week is definitely helped by the fact that you are running the largest website for RPG news in the world.
Well, yes, but other people can still read the website. It's not like it's accessible only to me.
Oh, yeah, I know, but it does sort of help with having content to talk about on this podcast. Yeah.
Anyway, so we were doing the actual play first.
Yes.
So we'll start at number 10, and shall we alternate?
Oh, yes, let's.
Okay, then. Do you want to do number 10 first?
Yes, I would love to. So, number 10 is You Meet in a Tavern, which was launched in February 2017. It is a continuing epic podcast with the adventures of Tug, Durf, and Carl, which are played by Kirk, Jamal, and Brian, as they navigate their way through their first D&D campaign.
Yes, indeed.
Or 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So I can see that being very appealing for a lot of people who've never played but have only actually watched or listened to podcasts.
Okay, the next one.
Yes.
Number 9.
Number 9, who's that?
Danes and Dragons.
Danes and Dragons. I'm getting a Norwegian vibe already about having Danish. Oh, no, please don't sue me.
No, Dames, not Danes.
Oh, Danes. Oh. I was hoping for Danes. I was hoping for dragons being fought by Vikings, or Norsemen even. Swinging battle axes.
I can't talk properly.
Could you ever? No.
Anyway, this one does sound quite awesome.
Danes and Dragons, you say? Tell us more.
It's a 5th edition actual play.
Yes.
It's got an all-lady cast, and they say they have lots of bad jokes, a mystery or two, and some fumbling attempts at heroism.
Yay.
And they update every other Monday, so it's a bi-weekly podcast.
Ooh.
And it is described thusly.
Yes.
On a floating island called Estra, 3 warriors emerged from the great forest to become the goddess's guardians.
Ooh.
Leica of the Wolf Clan is a tiefling paladin with a heart of gold. Corbin of the Crow Clan is a human druid with a heart that fully believes it belongs to an actual crow.
Oh, nice.
And Fran of the Deer Clan is a water genocide, I don't know how to pronounce that word.
I would say genocide, but
wizard, who may also have a heart.
We don't know.
Who knows? But that was number 9, Dames and Dragons.
Updating every other Monday on your most major podcast platforms.
Yeah. Do you want to do number 8?
I'd love to do number 8. Apparently, D&D is for nerds.
Apparently it is. I don't disagree.
Can't dispute it. Not on the evidence in this room. From Sans Pants Radio, which, of course, for those who are fluent in French, will be for those without pants, because why would you wear pants when you're doing radio? I know we certainly don't. Certainly, it's making the NBC suit fit in a particularly attractive way.
Pants do seem superfluous to radio broadcasting, do they not?
Has to do good looks and charm. That's what we're counting on anyway.
So yes, tell me about D&D's for Nerds.
Yeah, D&D for Nerds, in which they sit around a table, pretend to be different people, and they play some good old-fashioned Dungeons and Dragons. Stars include Jackson B. Bailey, Joel L. Zammit, someone known only as Cass, and their favourite DM, Adam. It's a magic, fun-filled time where apparently a group of idiots annoy their DM and, I quote, choof off to fumble their way through adventures. Based on the motto, you gotta risk it for the biscuit.
You gotta risk it for a biscuit.
The biscuit. They're definitely using the definite article, and that means there's very specifically after the biscuit.
Okay.
Which is clearly a important magical item. New episodes come out every Sunday.
Interesting. Sans Pants Radio has a range of podcasts, and one of them I did listen to is called Plumbing the Death Star.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a science fiction discussion podcast.
Oh, I see. How would plumbing work on Death Star?
Well, I guess that idea may have started off the podcast, but they cover all sorts of sort of sci-fi and geekery.
Yeah, oh, yes. I mean, interesting note would be to talk about the importance of water regulations on a small moon-sized battle station. You probably got more ground to cover in a sort of decent length. So, Russ, what came in at number 7?
Number 7 in the actual play podcast chart is
Yes.
Red Moon Roleplaying.
Ooh.
They say they play tabletop games set in dark worlds and turn them into a podcast.
Bum, bum, bum.
Presumably it requires some sort of magic. How could they do that? Turn it into a podcast?
No, it reminds me of the joke about the magic tractor. It was driving down a country lane and turned into a field.
Why am I laughing?
I don't know. Why are you laughing?
It's not even funny.
It's never been funny.
No. So they've just finished Curse of Strahd for D&D.
Oh, yes.
Our previous campaign they had was the Black Madonna, Occult Divinity Lost.
I'm hoping that's like a version of the Black Virgin Mary rather than a popular singer from the 80s, indeed, into the present day.
I sincerely doubt it has anything to do with the pop singer called Madonna.
I know, but at the same time, I'm a little sad that it might be, because that would be quite interesting.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
So that would also be the first time, as we reach number 7, a non-D&D actual play got in there.
Yes.
Occult Divinity Lost, of course, is a Swedish role-playing game.
Oh, okay, yes. I think I've heard of it.
I think it's Swedish.
I've only ever seen it written about. I've never encountered anyone who's actually talked to me about it. So, yeah. But
Would you like to tell us what number 6 is, Peter?
I'd love to. It's how we roll. So
We're getting into the big numbers here as well.
We're getting into the big numbers.
When you look at some of these podcast pages and look at the sort of number of downloads and all this sort of stuff they've had, they definitely make our little podcast to shame.
How we roll. From the website, they say, if you've got this far, you probably already know that we're a UK and Ireland-based RPG podcast. Our primary campaigns use Dungeons & Dragons 5th Ed and Call of Cthulhu 7th Edition. So they've been doing D&D, Curse of Strahd, and the Dren campaign, which was a custom campaign setting in the aftermath of a devastating war between humans and elves, with high magic, flying airships, curses, and undead, making the story extremely memorable. And they've also run Call of Cthulhu, including the Two-Headed Serpent, Bleak Prospect, and Idle Thoth.
That sounds quite entertaining.
Yeah, I can see that being good. I'm definitely picking up recommendations for my podcast listening.
I should hope so too.
Yeah, please enjoy the operatic mini break that occurred in the bonus content. Moving on.
Okay then. Number 5.
Number 5.
So number 5
Big numbers. Ooh.
actually won in the 2017 Academy of Podcasters Awards.
Ooh.
It won the best podcast in the games and hobbies category.
Oh, I say, well done.
It was launched in November 2012, and it's called Drunks and Dragons.
Marvellous.
It's an award-winning actual play comedy podcast using D&D as a framework for creating a mostly improvised narrative. Weekly episodes since 2012. As of December 2017, so these stats are a bit out of date, so they're probably even higher now, it had an estimated 70,000 unique monthly listeners and over 600,000 monthly downloads. They even have an annual convention. Tell me what number 4 is, Peter.
Dungeons and Randomness.
Dungeons and Randomness.
Yes, Dungeons and Randomness, which has been going for over 5 years with over 472 episodes, which you've got to admit is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
A weekly podcast with multiple groups playing in one world where their actions affect one another and tell a giant sprawling story.
That is interesting. Interesting as a concept. I haven't heard this one myself, but I just love the idea of that.
You got Jason Massey, their dungeon master, who I presume is some sort of person who has no need for sleep or other hobbies, balancing over 20 players and over 100 characters in a sprawling and epic story. Yeah.
That does sound quite impressive. And it's been going for 5 years as well.
Yes.
Wow.
Consider
me impressed.
I shall colour you impressed with my special impressed colouring crayons. They don't trust me with pencils, not after the incident.
Okay, number 3, we're into the top 3 now.
Yes.
Yeah, and the top 3
Yes.
Yes. Number 3
Yes.
of the top 3 is
Yes.
Androids and Aliens. So this one launched in April 2018.
Yes.
So only a few months before.
Yeah.
A couple of months before ours did.
Yeah, basically.
So these are the same guys who do the Glass Cannon podcast, which is a Pathfinder one.
Yes.
And this one obviously is focused on Starfinder.
Yes.
They are currently playing the Dead Suns adventure path from Paisley.
Yeah.
They describe themselves as follows: set in the distant future. 5 strangers find themselves caught in the middle of an interstellar mystery that threatens the very existence of the galaxy.
Yes.
Join us every week as characters' fates lie in the hands of dice rolls and friendships are ruined over rules arguments in an officially licensed actual play podcast of the Starfinder role-playing game Dead Sun's Adventure Path.
Exciting times.
Very exciting.
Yes.
So I'll do number 2 as well.
Oh, okay.
Because it is by the same people as Androids and Aliens.
Ooh.
It's the Glass Cannon podcast.
Nice.
So Androids and Aliens was obviously started this year.
Yeah.
The Glass Cannon podcast launched back in June 2015 with Paizo's Giant Slayer Adventure Path.
Yes.
So they got an official partnership with Paizo. They've done various live events and sold tickets to them. Yeah, and they say, in the spirit of old school tabletop role-playing games, a collection of 5 super nerds engaged in an officially licensed actual play podcast of Paizo's Giant Slayer Adventure Path. At least that's what the current description on the site says.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so it's interesting. We've got a Starfinder and then we got a Pathfinder one. Neither of those are D&D.
Yes, and obviously Androids and Aliens is spun off from the Glass Cannon, so I suppose it's a case of instant audience.
I guess.
Cross promotion.
Yeah. So, top one. Number 1, actual play podcast. Dum, dum, dum.
The Adventure Zone.
The Adventure Zone.
Yeah. It's very well known. It was pretty much the first thing people mentioned to me about podcasts, the Adventure Zone. I downloaded and listened to it for several episodes. The Lost Mines of Fandelver is the one they started off with, which was they did a one-off special where the McElroy brothers, Justin, Travis and Griffin actually played D&D with their dad Clint.
Yeah, that was actually on My Brother and Me, wasn't it? That one? Or was it not? I can't remember how it started. Because these are the guys that do My Brother and Me, obviously.
Yeah, I think...
Which is a big podcast.
I think they did it on My Brother and Me, which I haven't actually listened to. And then, because people simply said, oh my God, you're playing D&D! Or words to that effect. They then spun it off into podcast, which is where I leapt into like several years after the event.
Yeah.
Hearing about the Lost Mines of Fandelver.
They've even had a graphic novel made of it.
What?
Yeah, back in July 2018, a graphic novel was released to the Adventure Zone podcast.
Oh, that vaguely rings bells. Yeah, okay, no, I mean, it was definitely a thing. They've done really big things and they've covered a lot of ground. It was definitely interesting listening to like grappling with the rules for D&D and so forth and doing their best. And I think one of the things that really made it very engaging was it seemed really real, because I've been at very similar tables where people are like, I guess I do this, I don't really know. And I found that quite engaging. And then it spun off into a science fiction going to the moon section. So
well, they've actually played 4 different systems.
Yeah.
So they started off with D&D.
Oh, yeah.
Then they went on to Fate. Then Monster of the Week, which is a system also created by Evil Hat, who made Fate.
Yeah.
And at the moment they're doing a sort of Wild West with vampires and werewolves campaign called Dust, which is using the Urban Shadows system by Magpie Games.
So the most popular actual play podcast isn't actually running D&D.
At the moment.
Yeah. It could run D&D.
It has run D&D, and it probably will do again. But
interesting.
There we go. So congratulations to the Adventure Zone, should you happen to listen to this.
Yes, bravo to the Adventure Zone.
So that was the top 10 actual play podcasts.
Yes.
But we've got another 10 to talk about.
We do.
Yeah, the top 10 talk podcasts.
Yes.
So, shall we start at number 10? It seems like a good place to start.
It would make it a lot less anticlimactic.
All right, do you want to start or shall I?
Number 10 is Fear of a Black Dragon, which, as we know, won an Emmy in 2018 for Best Podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, gold, which is pretty impressive. They consist of 2 chaps, one from the US and one from the UK, who are doing this presumably over an online voice encoding.
That doesn't sound likely. I'm sure they just shout really loudly across the Atlantic.
Yeah, there's probably like a really long piece of string, a pair of plastic cups.
Most probably, yeah.
It's the most likely turn of events. But yeah, they go through things. They reviewed 2 that I actually had listened to, Scenic Dunsmouth and The Keep on the Borderlands, and went into a lot of detail about how to use these.
I see they've done things like Tomb of Horrors, Ravenloft, The Warlock of Firetop Mountain even, Shadows over Brokenhaven.
Yeah, Master of Blackmar. There's a whole pile of things. I mean, they don't produce on the most insane rate I've ever seen, because I imagine it's something like, every 2 weeks or something, because there's a lot of stuff to do, and you're not going to want to listen to all of them, but because not all of them will be relevant to you. But I think it's very good. They look at a lot of the design, and they come in round about the 40 to 50 minute mark, which I find personally a little bit long, but they work well.
Compared to our podcast, which usually comes in over an hour.
Indeed it does. Yes. I think it should be 20 minutes and that's it.
No, my bid is 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Huzzah! Yes. Speed podcasting. Yeah. I think it's the way of the future.
Okay, number 9.
Number 9. Again, this is actually one I've also listened to. System Mastery, which is essentially where 2 chaps talk about in great depth. It's another review type podcast. They look at a system, a role-playing game system, and then they go and delve into the mechanics and what sort of things you can do, issues with it. And I listened to it for 5th edition, Vampire. I think they did Savage Worlds. I want to say there was a D6 Fighting Fantasy. Yeah. I can't remember. It's been a
Do they play them all?
They have played several, but it's not what they're actually doing. They're actually, like, they read through the rules.
Yeah.
And then they go through and talk about either their experiences with them or what they think of their understanding of the situation of the rules. Yeah, I think my favourite episode in fairness was probably the one about Fatal, which is a role-playing game of extremely well-deserved ill repute.
Probably described as the worst role-playing game ever made.
There is some strong competition because, the internet is producing a lot of terrible, terrible things these days. But yeah, I think Fatal's crown still is secure, has the very worst role-playing game ever made.
Yeah.
Yeah. We went into a lot of detail about it.
So let's move on to number 8.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that one.
This one is Gaming and BS.
Ooh,
I'm trying to think what BS might stand for. Ball show? No. Boat sinking? No.
Bovine spongiform encephalitis? No.
Yeah, that must be it, yeah.
It's BSE, goodness.
BSE, yeah.
But obviously without the brain expanding, so it's just like cows with spongy brains.
So I think our listeners do know what BS stands for.
Well, if you don't, it's not our place to tell you.
So this is a couple of guys in Wisconsin in the USA.
Yeah. I think they share a workplace or something, and they talk about D&D.
I don't know if they share a workplace or not, do they?
I got the impression they did. I could be very wrong.
You're just making stuff up again.
Making stuff up that I read off the website this morning, yes.
So their main topics include things like getting info from players, seafaring adventures, the OSR, gaming with kids, playing online, cursed items and stuff like that. So they have a main topic each week, which is role-player game related, and they delve into. Then they've got a few other sort of segments that they touch on. So they've got their random encounter segment, which is letters and comments from listeners. They've got their die roll segment, which they call 2d4 points of miscellaneous geekery.
Yes. Good old caltrops. Anyway.
So, number 7.
Yes. Which I believe, and this is the point where you call me an idiot and tell Daryl to edit out everything I'm saying. Yeah, I think that's the official Wizards of the Coast podcast.
That is, in fact, the official D&D podcast of Wizards of the Coast.
Oh, is that right? I must confess, my main clue was it was on D&D.wizards.com.
That probably gives that away, yeah.
Well, you'd think that, but I'm super not clear from reading the show description what it's all about. But I think they are doing... It's an official podcast.
The show description. Go inside the walls of Dungeons & Dragons for exclusive interviews and previews.
Yes.
The D&D team sits down each week with celebrities and personalities from across gaming and pop culture to discuss one of the greatest fantasy brands of all time. We talk about the tabletop role-playing game, has the latest in D&D video games, comics, novels, movies and television, plus listen to our live playthroughs featuring Penny Arcade's Acquisitions Incorporated. So I can see how that description would be confusing.
Well, if you can find it, fair play to you. Yeah.
So this started back in 2016.
Yes.
And it is the official D&D podcast. I thought that was going to come in higher, actually, but number 7 is still quite a good showing at 99 podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of, if you're listening to RPG podcasts, you may perhaps not necessarily be that invested in just D&D. You might be more interested in the wider hobby.
Maybe.
And certainly people who are reading in World and listening to this podcast will have a selection bias to people who are interested in finding out of games, who know that games other than 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons exist.
Maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, certainly they've got a lot of, it seems to be more talking about, just from that description and from the episode titles, Dragon Talk is looking, in my opinion, from what I can make out, more at Dungeons and Dragons as a pop culture phenomenon rather than necessarily...
Well, as a brand, I suppose.
Yeah, like as a brand and how it relates to the world. And there is really only so much you can talk about because there's like maybe 12 books and a variety published by Wizards of the Coast. There's a lot of other supporting material out there.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine... Yeah, I mean, D&D's quite a big topic when you take into account all the live streams and the articles and the, you know, all the different stuff like that. It's not literally just the books anymore, is it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. As a pop culture phenomenon.
Yeah, and they can drop things like spoilers for later stuff, or hints and tips. Or...
Oh, absolutely. It's an important tool of their marketing.
Yeah.
Moving on to
number 6.
Number 6.
Ooh, what would the Smart Party do?
An excellent name for a podcast.
They do things like interviews with industry guests, such as Rob Schwab, Satine Phoenix, Jonathan Tweet, and some guy called Russ Morrissey.
Who?
But he's a bit of a jerk, though, so
he's the
probably
worst.
best we don't mention him.
Yeah, not interested to talk about
somehow he snuck onto their podcast one episode.
I suspect foul play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wait a minute, isn't that you? What?
I'm slightly biased having been on their podcast, but
you would be, it's fair. UK and Ireland based, which I did notice and approved of hardly.
So they also cover topics like first-time DM experiences, DIY gaming, the Ennies nominees, downtime, RPGs of the 90s and stuff like that. So there's a couple of guys called Gaz and Baz who have basically spent decades talking about games and decided one day to plonk a microphone in front of themselves and record the sounds.
Nice.
And rebroadcast them for all to hear.
Marvellous.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on to number 5.
Happy Jack's RPG.
Happy Jacks.
Happy Jacks is a panel show where they're talking about role-playing games.
They cover topics like sandboxes and small D&D games, one-shots, Rule Zero, space combat, causes of drama, disparate power levels, encouraging new GMs, things like that. And they have like this weekly tabletop advice show based on topics sent in by listeners. Yeah,
Happy Jacks does sound like an excellent RPG advice show they're talking about.
Yeah. It's been around since 2009, would you believe?
Did they even have podcasts in 2009?
10 years. Wow.
That is amazing. And they should definitely congratulate themselves on their longevity.
I think so. I think so, yeah.
I don't know if we'll be here in, what would it be, 2029, 2028?
I'll be here in an hour, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just, Russ only has minutes to live, but he's spending them creating this podcast for you.
And we still have 4 more podcasts to get through.
I believe in you, Russ. What's coming in at number 4?
Number 4 is a multi-Ennie winning.
Yes.
By a pair of industry veterans talking gaming, history, travel, cinema, politics and food, but mainly gaming.
Yes.
Is Ken and Robin Talk About Stuff.
They do it effectively.
They do. So we've got Robin Laws, who created Gumshoe, Feng Shui, Hillfolk and other things. We've got Ken Haidt, who's written more than 70 RPGs, and he's worked on things like Star Trek, GURPS, Trail of Cthulhu, Night's Black Agents, and, you know,
Savage Worlds,
60-odd other things.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, personally, I've seen them live at a panel. They were very interesting. It was pretty cool. And I really liked, I can't remember the name, Serpent Fall the Day After Ragnarok, something like that. It's a RPG setting for Savage Worlds, which Ken Hite created, and it's full of snakes, and its basic premise is, what if the Nazis summoned Jormungandr, the world serpent, to crush the world in World War II, but this was foiled by a B-52, an atomic bomb, flying into its eye, leaving the carcass of a serpent that would be ready to crush the world, sprawled half in, half out of reality, across most of the world, destroying England and wrecking France. So that was quite good.
I think Ken and Robin, I think those two as a pair, I mean, when you think industry veteran,
Yes.
those two immediately pop to mind, don't they? They're proper veterans.
If you were to ask for advice on good games mastering, Robin Laws did literally write a book.
He certainly did. He wrote the book on it,
Yeah, it's a strong choice.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on to number 3?
Oh, yes, Fear the Boot. I thought this looked like an interesting set of podcasts. I am intrigued. It's a lot of advice, and they also have some actual play as well.
Well, they've been around for a long time. They've got over 500 episodes.
Yes.
For example, the latest episode was called PCs Like NPCs Like PCs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it covered topics such as being a codependent player, playing NPCs as PCs, strategies for helping the GM with your PC. Other recent episodes included things like setting expectations, keeping entertainment of the group as a central focus, player responses to GM error and stuff like that. So it's a sort of general RPG talk show which covers on a range of topics every week.
That last episode alone certainly covers a lot of things that I would not necessarily have thought to think about. So yeah, that sounds good.
Number 2, we're into the top 2 now.
Ah, yes, the Grognard Files.
Yeah, so...
Grumbling old soldiers.
Yeah, so they describe themselves, well, I'm Dirk the Dice, and this is the Grognard Files podcast, talking bobbins about tabletop RPGs from back in the day and today.
Yes.
The Armchair Adventurers are a small FRPG group that meet monthly in Bolton. We first got together thanks to a small ad in White Dwarf in 1983.
Goodness. Nice.
A while back.
That is a while back, yes.
So we got back together in 2010 to play Call of Cthulhu, Masks of
It's Nyarlathotep. Why are you making it so hard to pronounce?
monthly for 3 years. And playing again reignited their passion for RPGs, so they returned into some more classic campaigns from their teenage years: RuneQuest Borderlands, Traveller Adventure, RuneQuest Griffin Mountain, and Call of Cthulhu Fungi from Yoggoth. Their interest began to shift towards what had happened to RPGs during their period away from the hobby, and the Grog Pod tells their story. So they have episodes about older games such as RuneQuest and Traveller and Tunnels and Trolls, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, Paradise, all sorts of stuff.
Okay, so again, that's very interesting. As we get there at the top, despite 5th Ed Dungeons and Dragons being like one of the main... I think the thing is, people don't just play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Like, I would play 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons this weekend. It was great. Loved it. Would play again. I'm hoping to. But I also want to play a lot of other games as well. I guess it's one of those things you keep coming back to. And certainly they have a lot to talk about.
Well, shall we go on to number 1?
The
most popular talk podcast on our list.
Well, I think we can certainly do that, but only on one condition.
What's that?
Which is that I get to pronounce the module from which they derived their name.
Fair enough. All right then.
Fair enough. It's a... Never mind. Go on. I'll explain the joke in a minute. That will make it funnier. That's always makes jokes funnier, Russ. Explain them.
So, number 1 is... Well, do you want to do this one then?
The good friends of Jackson Elias. Well, that did ring bells because I think it's in the Masks of Nyarlathotep. As we know more affectionately on the Muttered podcast. So it's a lot of talking about the Chaosium's Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game, where the 3 podcasters speak exclusively about the role-playing game, Call of Cthulhu, and the written material. We've got a lot of long-time fans.
So who, Peter, is Jackson Elias?
Jackson Elias is an investigator into cults during the early years of the 20th century. He wrote he's obviously a fictional character. I'd like to put this out here, but he's a fictional character who wrote a lot of books about various cults and whose main thesis was that cults lose a lot of their power once their mystery is revealed, right, and their ability to cause fear. And in a sort of I want to say ironic counterpoint to this, his character is actually murdered by a cult.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, that should be spoilers. Oh no.
Well, it's right at the beginning of the adventure, so I think it's fair enough.
It is right at the beginning, but it's still a spoiler.
It's kind of the thing that sets you off, isn't it?
Your instigating incident which draws them all together.
Yeah. I've played about half of Masks of... No,
that's half more than I have. Good work.
So the good friends of Jackson and Elias, they talk about Call of Cthulhu. They also talk about other things like horror films and weird fiction and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But generally, it's Call of Cthulhu. And they've got sort of episodes on things like making combat more interesting, the mythos as religion, horror gaming in the modern day, stuff like that.
Yes.
And they are our most popular talk RPG podcast of 2018.
It's very impressive.
So congratulations to the good friends of Jackson and Elias.
Bravo.
Well done.
Yes.
Out of 9,099 votes,
yes,
they came in at the top.
Impressive.
Talk RPG podcast list.
Yes.
And the top of the actual playlist was the Adventure Zone. So, I think that's it for the week. I have somehow survived to the end of the podcast. I don't know how I managed that.
I need to up that cyanide dosage in coffee. I'm surprised you managed to survive. Drink up, old chap. Yeah. You are the cause of my Ebola. Yes, absolutely.
Well, hopefully I'll be a bit better by next week.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're
I can return to my normal sparkling form.
And if not, then we'll be doing an improvised episode which will consist of Russ doing his best impersonation of Malik the Magnificent and me hopefully talking like a normal person. Yeah. I think it's safe to say that listeners to this episode have not seen me at my best. But hey, what are you going to do? I struggled through. I did it anyway. I made it to the end and I'm still alive. I remember, if you enjoyed the podcast, tell your friends. And if you didn't enjoy it, tell no one. Exactly. One last plug for our Patreon. Woo! Yeah, head on over to patreon.com/Morris. Please do, buy us a coffee or something, or a beer. And we'd be ever so grateful, and it'll help us continue to do this podcast. And it might even save my life. I might even not die if you support our podcast. It helps keep me in cyanide pills. Let's see if we can finish him off. One of those two things. One of those two things. Yeah. You don't know which, but one of those two things will happen. Legal disclaimer, I'm not actually trying to poison Russ. I promise you, if you support this podcast, either I will die or I will stay alive. One of those two things will happen. Guarantee. Challenge accepted. So thank you so much for listening. Yeah. As ever, it has been a pleasure. Less pleasurable than most weeks because I am, as I said, dying. But I'm sure it was a pleasure for Peter. Yes, absolutely. As ever, thrilled and delighted to be here. Particularly proud of my fantastic score in the greatest game in all the world ever. To make up for the many weeks in which it was less stellar. But yes, so I guess it's time to say goodbye. Yeah. Well, goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much. Until next week, this is me, Russ, signing off. Peter Coffey from Southampton Guild of Roleplayers. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, what a disappointment that was. I have some thumbscrews around here somewhere. Maybe, after a bit more torture, their podcasting might be a little less excruciating. Do you see what I did there?